Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm so happy you have found this video, or if you're coming back to my page. This is going to be a pregnancy update from week 17 up till week 20. Now I'm at the halfway point in my pregnancy. It's so crazy to believe I'm already here. And we'll just jump right into it. So the first thing that I wrote down for week 17 was that I was really feeling sore breasts. And I've been feeling this for quite a while, even up until now. Like my breasts really hurt. I feel like my nipples have gotten bigger and they're pretty annoying. So that is something I wrote down. I think it's just becoming more noticeable now. And one thing that I started to get was headaches. Now, I'm not a person that normally gets headaches. I typically maybe get a headache maybe once a year or something like that. Again, so this felt really out of the normal for me, and I had headaches, like not like super like migraines, but like light, kind of like a dull pain headache. And I definitely wrote that symptom down because I started to feel that a little bit that week. Another thing that I've started to feel when I was 17 weeks was Braxton Hicks, and I've started to feel that daily, even up until now. I am currently 21 weeks today, which is so crazy, but even now I still feel Braxton Hicks daily, and they feel a lot more stronger than they did like when I felt them a little bit earlier in my pregnancy. And now I'm able to identify it. I know exactly what it is. I can feel the tightening, and if I have and I think sometimes what contributes to that is having a full bladder. So whenever I have a full bladder, I can like feel I can feel like the Braxton Hicks, like I feel that tightening, and I'm like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. So that's another tip for any new moms out there. Sometimes Braxton Hicks, you can have many Braxton Hicks if you have a really, really full bladder. That can also cause that. And typically every time I have a Braxton Hicks, I'll like feel the pressure on my bladder, and I know it's time to go empty. Another thing that I've been experiencing, I was experiencing at week 17 was like pooping a lot. And that is quite funny, and you know, obviously TMI, but we're all here for the deets anyway, so I'm gonna share them. I would like go multiple times a day. And I mean, this is not a problem that I wanna be complaining about, because I mean, I've heard other moms have stories about like them not being able to go at all. So I'm grateful for being able to go as often as I do. Another thing I wrote was that I'm super hungry all the time, and that's kind of still today. Like I still feel so much more hungry than I did earlier in my pregnancy, and I don't get dizzy if I don't eat maybe like every couple of hours, but I do get that sensation of I need to eat something, or I want to eat something. Another thing is feeling out of breath, and I think I mentioned this in my other previous pregnancy updates, and I'll link those below and put them in the cards at the end of this video, but constantly out of breath. I live in a townhome, so living in a townhome, you have lots of stairs. And so going up those stairs, up and down these stairs, especially chasing toddlers, is killing me. I'm constantly out of breath. Anything makes me out of breath. Another thing, which I've still been experiencing, is that my skin is still so bad. Like I get breakouts constantly. Some days I'll go and have like clear days, maybe even like maybe a week I'll have like a clear week, but typically like my skin always has like breakouts and stuff like that. And for someone who normally does not get breakouts, it really does suck, but it is what it is. But these ones are like, they're not like regular pimples. Like, you know, I wouldn't be complaining about regular pimples, but they're just like the ones that like hurt to touch. You can feel the ugh. It's not pretty, but it is what it is. And now let's go to week 18. Now week 18, my skin acne was at the worst, and I wrote that here, that it was still really bad. Again, getting those pimples, not even like small ones, like these are like big ones that like hurt. You know, this is a week where my face is like relatively okay. I still have some like pimples somewhere, but they're not like the ones I was getting week 17 and 18, where like they were just big, they hurt, and they were painful to the touch. I don't want to go back to that, but I wrote that down because it was still happening during those weeks. And then I also wrote that my belly is big. My stomach has continued to get bigger since week 18, but then at week 18, I wrote that my belly was big. And I've begun to pop. Like, I feel like I look right now like what I would look in my 30 weeks, but again, I tend to have bigger babies, and I wouldn't be surprised if this baby is bigger. And I'll talk about that in my later weeks about why I think so. Another thing that I wrote down was that I'm feeling really, really pregnant. I feel like when I walk, I've started to have that pregnant waddle. Like if you're a first time mom, like sometimes if you're really big, you start to like kind of waddle towards the end of your pregnancy. And if other second time, third time, whatever time mom, you know what that pregnancy waddle is. And I've just started to feel, at week 18, I started to feel that like pregnancy waddle. I just felt big. Like I felt like when I'd walk, I'd be like walking with my stomach. It was so weird, but like I feel like when you're starting to get used to your stomach protruding and your back is like kind of arched in a certain way, that you really start to feel pregnant. And I started to feel that at week 18, especially now that my stomach has gotten a lot bigger, or my belly has gotten bigger. I just feel really, really pregnant. I also mentioned that in week 18, I started to feel the baby like kick and roll. And one thing I will mention with this baby, with my other two, I felt that they were super, super active. Like I could feel them all the time. With my son, my second pregnancy, from week, like I think I was like 12, 13 weeks, I would feel that kid kick from the moment I woke up to the moment I went back to sleep. Like all day long, this kid would kick, move, and have a bunch of movements. I would say that this baby has felt like my chillest. Like I feel it kick and roll, but like at certain points during the day. Like if I'm laying down or sometimes if I'm sitting down, like I'll feel it, but it's nowhere close to what I felt with my other two. With those were super active babies that I could feel all the time. And this one, I haven't felt it all that much, but I just assumed that my placenta was located in the front. Maybe it was cushioning it, maybe I couldn't feel it all that much, but I'll talk a little bit about that 19 weeks when I had my anatomy scan. I'm almost there. And another thing I started to feel a lot more in my 18 week was exhaustion. You know, I do have that normal exhaustion, but it still felt really, really strong that week. Like I was constantly tired. I had lots of work to do that week and a lot of it was not done. Like I would still have to take my afternoon naps. I would fall asleep on the couch at night, typically by like 7 or 8. Like I was just so exhausted. And I think that what contributes to that is maybe when the baby's having a growth spurt, or I don't know. I'm not a doctor, of course, but like I feel like whenever I have like, cause I'll have times where I don't feel super exhausted, and I feel like it's those times when the baby isn't having a huge growth spurt, but I feel like the baby was having some kind of growth spurt because I was exhausted. Everything made me tired. Taking the kids out for a walk, making dinner, anything legit would put me out on the couch, and it sucked. But baby's growing and it's healthy, and I think that's all that matters. On week 19, so this is like kind of like, I think a week where I just had so much good news, because if you've watched my previous updates, and I think I've also put them in my day in the life, I've talked a little bit about like the troubles I was having not having a midwife and not having care, just because I was having trouble with an OB office that I was at, because typically when I get pregnant, I'll go see an OB office first before I find a home birth midwife. So I was just feeling all the things week 17, from like week 15 all the way to 19. And 19 is when like, I swear the sun broke in the sky and I could finally see a light at the end of the tunnel. But I'll get to that. So week 19, I wrote that I can feel lots of movement and lots of baby rolls, and this has not stopped since. I can feel the baby now move, I can feel it roll, and I could started to feel it. Like it's weird. I just feel like the baby's like movements, not just like a random like kick or jab or whatever it is, like randomly. Like I can actually just feel like the actual movement. And if you're a first-time mom, sometimes you may not feel it as early as this. Sometimes I know that with me, I felt my first, I believe around like 14 weeks, but it really depends on where the location of your placenta is. If your location of your placenta is in the front, it may cushion movements or stuff that you might feel early. It really depends, or like sometimes you may not be able to identify what it is that it feels like. Early on, it might feel like a muscle spasm. I know some people say it feels like bubbles, or some people just may feel it later on, like maybe around like 22 to 24 weeks or something like that. But like me, I felt I can feel it, and it's nothing, you can't just, it's like indescribable. It's such a cute little feeling. You know that your baby's there and it's, you know, everything's okay. Another thing I wrote was extreme exhaustion. I wrote this in caps. And again, I think it's because the baby is going through some kind of growth spurt where I'm just like so exhausted. Anything literally made me so tired. And I think it's because the baby's using extra energy out of me to just grow itself. And I also wrote, TMI, that I feel super gassy. Anything I ate, anything legit literally made me super gassy. It's embarrassing, but it is what it is. We're all moms here. And the next thing I wrote, that I had my anatomy scan when I was 19 weeks. Anatomy scan, the baby was measuring like 1.5 weeks ahead of what it is. And they were measuring the baby at about like 21 weeks, which was wild. I'm not surprised, because like I feel like even now, between when I wrote like I think like 17 or 18 weeks that I was like feeling like I was pregnant, I feel even more pregnant now. Like even getting off the couch, getting off the floor, like I have to like roll or get support. It's I'm just feeling it. I told my husband like this the other night that like I really feel like this baby might be the biggest baby, and I'll be shocked if it comes out to be smaller than my other two. My first was 8 pounds 4 ounces. My second was 9 pounds 2 ounces. Guys, I might have a 10-pound baby. That's pretty scary. But like I just feel so big, and like because the baby was measuring so big at my at the anatomy scan, they changed my due date up. They moved it up another week or so, which is like wild. But me and my midwife talked about it. She's like, you know, due dates are just estimates, and they are like anytime you get a due date, it's when the baby's ready. And so Actually, which is funny, my second also was measuring big, and I thought he was big too. And so they moved his due date up a week, and he was born on that due date that they estimated a week earlier, which was super wild, almost like a due date baby. But I was still going by like what I was, I think like the last menstrual period date or whatever. And another thing that they mentioned, I believe I mentioned this in my other, I think my other two pregnancy updates, is when I was like 9 weeks, I was diagnosed, not really diagnosed, but they told me I had like a complete placenta previa. My placenta had implanted over my cervix, and at 20 weeks it's completely moved, and they noted on my report that I have no placenta previa, and so I am cleared to move forward with a home birth, Lord willing, like nothing pops up or whatever. But I'm so happy because that was a big worry of mine in the beginning. I'm just a little scared of hospitals and just kind of having to have a C-section, and so hopefully if I can avoid it, I can. And so right now placenta is not any issue for that, and so I'm so grateful. And baby was looking great. I also wrote on my 19-week updates that I finally found a home birth midwife, which I'm super excited about. I'm so excited to move forward with a home birth. And if you guys are interested in home births, I put both of my home birth stories on my channel. I've recorded my first because I didn't get to film that one. It was quite fast. And then my second one is actually majority footage and actually the birth of my baby at home. And I can put those in the description below if you'd like to check that out. But if you also want to come on this journey with me, I talk a lot about home birth on my Instagram, and I'll put my handle up here. But I also have like some highlights on my Instagram about my home births. And then I also plan to talk about it more on my channel as we get closer and closer to the end of my pregnancy. And if you want to follow along, please subscribe and like. And so up with my home birth preparations and how I'm getting ready for home births. I also made a video about how to prepare for an unmedicated birth. If you're interested in that, I will also put it down in the description below. And now I'm at my 20 weeks. So in 20 weeks, I felt like just so much change happened. Like I feel like I'm at the halfway point. It's still hard to believe that I'm at halfway point of my pregnancy because I feel like it was just yesterday that I found out I was pregnant. But I think right when I had turned 20 weeks, it was a day that I had so much to do. So I was up all day, I was recording content, I had to go shopping, I had to like do a whole bunch of things that day. By the end of the day, my whole legs had cramped up. I was exhausted. I could hardly walk, and I was like, obviously if I wasn't pregnant, or I feel like it was in the beginning of my pregnancy, I would never have this feeling of like leg cramps, and I've never had that before. So it was definitely my body telling me that I need to start taking it easy, and this baby's getting bigger and I need to relax a little bit. So I definitely am not gonna do anything as much as I did that day again, especially now that I'm getting further along. Another thing that I wrote was that I was feeling a lot of rolls and the baby kicking and rolling around, and now I can feel that externally, which is so wild. I'm not sure if I remember feeling the baby externally with my other two this early. I did put a poll on my Instagram and I asked other moms whether or not they felt this, and some have said yes, they did feel it that early externally. I don't know, maybe I just don't remember, but I feel like it's so early to be feeling it on the outside. It's so wild. If you felt movement early, like around like 20, 19 weeks or something, leave a comment below and let me know, because I'm like feeling like maybe I just don't remember like this happening so early, but let me know below what your thoughts are. Another thing I'm writing is that I'm still exhausted in the evenings, but I think it's just because I've been doing so much. Like I'm working during the day, I have the kids, I'm recording content and stuff like that. And so I just feel like, I don't know if my brain's just working so much. I'm just like so exhausted by the end of the day. It's crazy. Another thing that I wrote that was that I've been sleeping through the night. Like I typically will not wake up to go pee. In the beginning of my pregnancy, I was waking up 4 to 5 times a night just to use the bathroom. And now I don't know if it's just because I'm just so tired. I don't wake up until the morning. When my alarm wakes me up, that's when I wake up to go pee. I am sleeping through the night, and thankfully so, because insomnia at night will kill you. And I had that and it sucked, but like I've just been sleeping through the night because I'm so exhausted. I also wrote that I feel like the baby has had a growth spurt, and I think that goes along hands with me being exhausted, me feeling physically, feeling those physical like exertions that I have every time I do something too much, like my legs will cramp up and stuff. I feel like the baby's having a growth spurt. And my back feels like it's arched a lot more forward, and so I definitely think the baby's growing. I wrote that I had my first midwife appointment, which happened this past week, and I did, and it was wonderful. Having a home birth midwife, they come to your house, at least in my experience, they've all come to my house, and we do the prenatals here. My kids get to be involved, we listened to the baby, we just chatted, we talked. It was like an hour appointment, and it's just so great to get to know your midwife better at your own home, and you can just ask questions. You don't feel nervous or in an environment that just kind of makes you feel nervous to ask any questions. It's just literally like having a conversation with a good friend. And I think for me that helps with with labor. It helps me be relaxed because knowing that person's who's in my space, I'm not having people like random people I don't know come in and out. So it's just, for me, it just works so well just to have my prenatals at home, just getting to know my midwife. And if you don't know, having a home birth midwife, they can pretty much do anything for you at home. Maybe not ultrasound action, but I've had my second midwife had like a portable little like ultrasound thing, and we did one when my son had turned up breech towards my end of my pregnancy. But they can draw blood, they can do all of that, like even like test your urine for stuff like that. And so it's really, really great having a home birth midwife, in my opinion. I may be biased, but I've loved those. I loved having midwives. I've had a lot more acid reflux. And this is something, I had it a little bit earlier in my pregnancy and then it subsided, but I've been having a lot more lately, and it's so annoying. Like last night, stupidly, I decided to eat a bag of candy and I suffered for it greatly. Like I could feel it rising my throat. I've had acid reflux with my other 2 pregnancies. I've had it with my second, I had it towards like when I was like my end of my pregnancy, maybe towards like the 30s and stuff like that. With my first, I had it around this time and then it subsided and I never had it again. So maybe hopefully this is what's happening and I won't. Another thing that I had was that I've been craving a lot more sweets lately. And this week, again, I think it's with my appetite. My nutrition literally has gone out the window, and maybe that's why I feel so big, is because I've just been eating like crap lately. Normally I eat decently well, lots of fruits, vegetables and stuff like that, but like this week it just all went out the window. I was eating fast food, having pie, made pie because I was craving pie. And so I'm trying to get back on track this week and just trying to keep this baby a little bit smaller. So I have not been drinking a lot more water, so I need to get back on that. And I think that's it. I think that's all that I had for week 17 to week 20. I'm now at the halfway point. Currently, I'm 21 weeks pregnant. I just turned that today, and so I thought I'd give you a belly shot, even though it's not gonna be like for my week 17 to 20, but you know, you'll get the idea. So I hope you enjoyed this pregnancy update, and I hope it was informative to you. And if you have any comments, questions, let me know below in the comments. I'd love to connect with you guys and find out where you are at your journey in your pregnancy. And I hope to talk to you guys soon. Please like and subscribe if you found this to be helpful and if you want to follow along with my journey and my home birth journey. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.